Today's video is a short demonstration using the Equinox 800 and the 6-inch coil. And you can see here in my test garden I have several items going from a 6.5 inch quarter to a 7-inch rivet, 6.5 inch dime, and a 6.5 inch nickel. And what I want to do, to show an example, I want to do a factory preset to start with. To do so, when you turn it on, you hold the on button for approximately 6 to 8 seconds. FP comes up, that means it has been reset to factory presets. And we're going to go through here. There's a couple of changes I want to make. It makes it easier to do a video. And number one, it seems to be pretty quiet. The book says you need to do a ground balance, so let's go ahead and do that. It says 7. I'm going to go to the next function, and that's preset, ground balance 0. I want to change the audio up to 25. It makes it a lot easier to actually hear. And everything else is the same. 5 tones. And recovery speed 5. First target here is a 7.5 inch quarter. You can see I'm having a little bit of a problem. Occasionally. Go to the 7-inch rivet. Still kind of quiet. Just hitting on just a little bit. Let's go to the 6.5 inch dime. Here again, they're marked. I've got these here marked with an orange type plug, just so it'd be easier for me to locate, but I usually know where everything's at. And by the way, everything in this test garden has been in here over 11 years now. This is a 6.5 inch nickel. That's not an issue. Right out of the box, factory presets, 6.5 inch nickel, no problem. Now I want to move just slightly. Go a 4.5 inch nickel. We'll go back, 4.5 inch dime. You notice there's a big difference between the 4.5 inch dime and the 6.5 inch dime. 6.5 inch dime seems to be having a little bit of a problem. So what I want to do, I want to go ahead and bump the sensitivity on up to 25. It may cause it to be a little bit chattered, but we're going to see what happens on this 6.5 inch dime. Now we're starting to get a target that we wasn't before. So there is a point to where sensitivity is important enough to where you're going to have it up a little bit higher with this smaller coil to be able to get the detection depth that you're looking for. 6.5 inch dime. That's still adequate with sensitivity 23. Now go 7-inch rivet. It helped it slightly. And 6.5 inch quarter. Still having a little bit of a problem here with 6.5 inch quarter, but now it's because there's iron all around, and that does rob a certain amount of the transmit signal and the receive signal. You can hear it. There's the audio. The low tones is iron. There's that 6.5 inch dime, 7-inch rivet, 6.5 inch quarter. Now, all that being said, I did notice one thing, that if I adjusted the ground balance a little bit, it changed. So that's what I want to do now. I want to go into the ground balance function, and you can hear it. You can tell we're off just a little bit, so I'm going to adjust it. Camera kind of came loose a little bit. Keep adjusting it. Now we're about pretty well quiet. Close. Now we're going to go back over this 6.5 inch quarter. intermittent. rotating around this quarter to get just exactly the right place. Now that being said, let's go in and change that recovery speed just a little bit slower and see what happens. Now that being the fact, I'm not real happy with that. So let's increase it just a little bit. Go to 6. Now this is part 1. So let's go to part 2 and see what kind of changes, because the Equinox processes the information differently depending on whether it's part 1, part 2, field 1, field 2, all the way through the prospecting mode. So this is part 2. Everything's preset. I haven't changed the ground balance, which doesn't change if you change the selection. I am going to, this particular part here about the audio stays the same. It does transition from each program. So let's go and try it again. Part 2 tends to hit this 6.5 inch quarter just a little bit better, but it is severely masked. Let's go to the 7-inch rivet, 6.5 inch dime. Now the wind's getting up here a little bit. It just has came a storm, and I was out earlier trying to get this thing to operate, and I could tell the storm was getting close because it was getting chattery bad. And it just so happened, as quick as I came in to the house and shut the door, the storm hit. And yeah, that was a good indicator that there was something on the way. Here's a 6.5 inch nickel. Not a problem. I want to go in and we're going to change the program to, we're going to leave it all the same. Now it's starting to clear up right there. Right there, just perfect. Let's do a 7-inch rivet. Good, clean audio, faint. You could tell this is a deep target. Look at the depth indicator here. 6.5 inch dime. So now it comes down to the question: is this coil worth it? I can say of all the machines I've had in the past 20 years, I've had several that had small coils that were extremely poor performers in my area, and some of them were just a 5-inch coil. Now I can tell you that I have not had one detector that had a 5-inch coil, regardless of what I did with it, could pick up this 7-inch rivet. It's small. It's the size of the very end of a pencil eraser with a hole in it. 6.5 inch dime. Now just to continue on, I want to go ahead and go into field 2. And keep in mind, the Equinox processes this information differently between the different programs. 6.5 inch quarter. Adjust the screen just a little bit. 6.5 inch quarter. 7-inch rivet. So by what we have seen so far, part 1 didn't perform well, part 2 did a little bit better. Field 1 was actually the best choice for my area hunting with this small coil, which doesn't mean that this is the same in every area. I may travel 8 or 10, 15 or 20 miles away and find out that this program will not work correctly, that it may be part 1, and I have found that true many times using the regular stock coil. 6.5 inch dime, 6.5 inch nickel. I might add, it seems that the nickel is not a problem. It's not an issue with any of the programs. 6.5 inch nickel, 4.5 inch nickel, 4.5 inch dime, 4.5 inch core. There we have it, the test garden, the Equinox 800, and this little bitty, I want to call it little bitty because I would hate to think that I had a task of hunting a huge area with this small coil, but it has a unique feature. It is a double D coil, and it's really meant for the trash, to get in areas where there's a lot of targets to where it will only see a certain amount of targets. Allows the machine to recovery quick enough to give you an audio and some kind of ID number to decide whether or not you want to dig. This is the Equinox 800 and the 6-inch double D coil.